days after ordering the closure of non-essential businesses, schools and universities to curb the spread of Covid-19, French President Emmanuel Macron announced a full nationwide lockdown on March 16, 2020.
Dès demain, midi, et pour 15 jours au moins, nos déplacements seront très fortement réduits.
For weeks, life in all major French cities came to a near standstill, save for the daily rounds of applause to thank doctors and nurses battling the virus. Yet despite having imposed one of Europe's strictest lockdowns, infections continued to surge across France, leaving hospitals overwhelmed and prompting authorities to extend confinement measures. By the end of April, nearly 25,000 people had succumbed to the virus. But as infection rates began to drop, authorities announced the end of France's lockdown on May 11th and started to gradually ease sanitary restrictions. On June 2nd, several non-essential businesses, including bars, restaurants, and museums, were allowed to partially reopen. Yet by July, cases had begun to surge again. On July 20th, masks were made compulsory in all indoor spaces. And by late August, with new clusters forming in several regions, some cities began making masks mandatory outdoors. On September 1st, classes resumed in schools across France, with teachers and pupils aged 11 and up asked to wear face masks at all times. Meanwhile, cases continued to rise steadily, reaching a peak of more than 10,000 daily infections in September, the highest tally since the start of the pandemic. But despite the looming threat of a second wave, death rates remained relatively low across the country. On September 11th, the government announced reinforced measures to combat the virus, including increased testing and tracking of infected patients, in a bid to avoid a potentially disastrous second lockdown.